This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com. Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Mia Mighty Hopkins of the World Famous Harlem Globetrotters. What's up, podcast episode 97 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Mia. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, how does it feel to be home visiting?
It feels good. It feels nice to, be off tour for a little bit.
Yeah. So what are you up to?
I actually just signed with the Harlem Globetrotters. So I'm on tour with them. I'm on a little break right now, but then I'll be going back on tour with them in preparation for the game in Wilkes-barre on February 12th.
Awesome. And perfect timing that I caught you right before that game. So it's really cool to have you here. And it's also just super cool in general. You're from Pittston. You made the team, the Harlem Globetrotters. Like it's awesome. And I'm glad to have you here for you to share your story and how you got to this point in your life. So let's go back. Like, when did you pick up the ball?
I picked up the ball pretty much at birth. My grandfather was a coach at GAR in Wilkes-barre, and he was like a legendary coach in the 570. So I grew up with it as an infant. I always had a ball in my hands. And then I started playing at the YMCA around age 4. And it's actually pretty funny. My mom has some YouTube clips still of me basically being a hot dog and just like trying to put the ball between my legs and whatnot and like looking at the camera. So honestly, this kind of worked out for me. I've had it in me all along, and I'm just excited to be graced with this opportunity.
4 years old, you pick up the ball like a hot dog, right? So take me through your career. So high school, take me on through it.
Okay, so from age 4, just through childhood, I always just worked hard. I always worked out in my driveway, and I used to play with the boys. So like in my neighborhood, I would just play with the guys. And then like with school, I would always play like 2 years older. So I was always like the youngest person, and I feel like that just developed me to be dominant. And I would just, again, work out in my driveway, and my grandfather, he was very hands-off with me. And we lived next door to each other, so every day I'm in the driveway, I would go in and ask him to come out and like check me out and like play with me a little bit, and we would play horse. And when we were playing horse, he would beat me, obviously, like I'm a little kid, and he would just be like, all right, like, you're no good, like, I'm going back inside. So it was kind of just like an indirect tactic of making me like just want to be better without like being like, okay, you have to make like 500 Micans. So it was kind of indirect, and it made me just like hungry. So from there, I would then be back in the driveway, like practicing for hours. And I did that for years. Like even through high school, I did that. And I started playing AAU in high school, and I was a freshman starter for varsity. And I did really well in high school and played AAU with the Firm AC with Isaiah Walker. And
shout out to Isaiah.
Absolutely. And he helped me get my Division I scholarship at Monmouth University. So I ended up going to New Jersey. I played there for 2 years, and it just wasn't working out for me. There was a couple people that were looking to transfer. So a bunch of people on my team, we weren't happy, so we all decided kind of we're going to transfer. So I decided to transfer to Bloomsburg. So I went to Bloomsburg University for a year, and it was like basically I left like a bad situation and like went to a worse one. So I was just like very unhappy, and I was just like kind of just upset, because I just transferred and it wasn't working out. And then I went and decided I was going to go to Westchester University. So like, again, like I've been to 3 colleges now. It's like a long road. Like, I hope this works out. I just wanted to play overseas. I always knew that I was going to be a professional basketball player.
And what was your goal?
Just to be a professional. I always wanted to be in the WNBA, but I wanted to go overseas first. Like I knew that it was like that was the route that I wanted to take.
Why?
That's just what I felt, I guess, in my heart, what I wanted to do. And so I just like went with that intuition, and I had to sit out. Then I had to redshirt when I transferred again to Westchester University. And so I had a 5th year. So I sat out a year, and then I had a 5th year. And luckily it ended up turning out to everything I wanted to be. And I had a great season. And we had a bunch of different people on my team who kind of just like basically went through the rough in college. We had a couple like 5th year seniors, and like we were all seniors who just transfers, people kicked off the team. Like it was just like kind of a bunch of rebels all like getting together for like one last year.
And it worked out.
It worked out for everybody. And even my head coach, we still joke about it, like because she like threatened my assistant, was like, this better work out, because she like just brought us all together, and it ended up working out. So it was a lot of fun.
How did you get overseas? Like how did that happen? Take me through it.
Some crazy stuff. I literally got a message on Instagram from this girl who I could tell was a professional, and I didn't know like what to think of it at first, because she's messaging me because I actually posted a video of me shooting that like went on like one of the promotional pages. Like I forget what it was called now, but like Who's Next or something like that. I did like a shooting challenge. So she saw it, I guess, and like followed me and then messaged me and said,
was she a player?
She was a player, yes. So she was just like, hey, what's up? Like, do you want to play in this like tournament in France? Like it cost this much money. I think it was like $1,500 or something crazy. And at that point, like I literally had no money. Like, you know, I don't know where I'm in college. I'm a college athlete. So at that point I was like, I didn't have the money to go to France. And it was just like a little tournament in France. And when I told my mom about it, first of all, she was saying that the girl wasn't real. She was trying to say
it was like a scam.
Yeah, she thought it was from like the movie Taken or something. So yeah. She was like, absolutely not. Like, no way. Like, whatever. Like, going to a foreign country by yourself. No way. So I had mentioned it to my grandfather, and luckily he was on board, and he ended up sending me some money so I could finesse the trip. And next thing you know, I'm on my way to France to play in just like a little tournament. Honestly, didn't know what it was really. I was just excited. And what I did from that was I was able to get some film. So I got like very prestigious film that looked good. Like I'm in a Europe FIBA jersey, and it's got McDonald's on the side, and I'm playing in France in this, it's called the Mediterranean Cup. So like it sounds legit, looks cool, like all official. So it was hosted by FIBA. So like that just made it more credible to like FIBA coaches. And FIBA means like basically the Foreign International Basketball Association. So just any team really in Europe will be a part of that. And so after that, I came home and I clipped up my film, and I was just relentless. I just sent it to thousands of coaches, and pretty much like cold calling business. I was over here on everybody's website trying to learn other languages, trying to figure out like how to even find their email address to send them an email of like, hi, my name is Mia Hopkins. I'm from Pittston, Pennsylvania. I play positions 1, 2, 3. I'm a shooting guard. I'm a scorer, and basically giving my film and the lowdown on who I am and why they should sign me. So I sent out thousands of emails.
Oh my God.
Yes. So from that, you know, it was like everyone thought I was probably crazy. I thought I was crazy too. And one team hit me back. One.
Out of all those emails.
One. And
that's all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. Just to get me out. So it ended up being an offer from the Czech Republic. Like, I don't know anything about the Czech Republic at this point. Like,
yeah.
And it was for very little money. And I was just like, all right, like I'm about to be a pro basketball player. Let's do this. So I ended up, you know, saying like, yes, I'll sign the contract. And I ended up having a party. We all celebrated, my family and everything. And then like at the last minute, they're like, yeah, you can't come. Yeah. So
after you signed the contract.
Yep.
Why?
Pretty much like the funding, I guess, with the club, and like I don't know, like, I guess it was between me and someone else and like all this crazy stuff. So I was just like, you know, humbled and like embarrassed. And I was just like, didn't know what to do, just kind of like letting it unfold. But at the same time, I was trying to force it because I really wanted to go. So I sent them a couple emails, you know, saying, you know, I'll help with coaching with the club and like try and figure out some money, pay for my flight. Like I was desperate. I was like, I want to play overseas. Right. So after that, they agreed. So I ended up going and I flew over there to the Czech Republic. And when I got there, just like I said, they were basically like low on funding. So they were trying to like make me and the other American like compete for a position. But we didn't know this at the time. We just thought, you know, like we're here and whatever. So it goes into it and we play a couple games and we realized that they're like trying to play us. Like they would put us in like the first quarter and then like they wouldn't put us back in the game until the fourth quarter. So it was just like a weird vibe of trying to get into a groove and into some flow, just weird stuff that doesn't really happen that much. But they were trying to like, I guess, push us and see what we're made of and stuff. So pretty much, like we didn't play well, like the whole tournament. Neither of us played well because it was just like chaotic. And then the last game, it was the last game of the tournament. And I wasn't in the whole game. Like, I think I may have played like 1 minute in the whole game. And then the point guard on our team had like banged her head. So she had to come out. And the coach is looking down the bench. And, you know, he's like, oh, Mia, come. Like I'm like the worst person he wants to like be in there right now. So I'm like, whatever. But at that point, though, I knew, though, like no one else could fill that role. So I was like, all right, like, let's do it. But also at that point, I was just kind of like, whatever. Like I wasn't so stressed and upset anymore because I was already upset and stressed enough. So at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I'm going to just distribute the ball because I haven't been playing good. I haven't been in flow. And I'm going to just let the people who are scoring score and try and get them the ball as best as possible. So that's what I did. And I tossed it in the post and she ended up getting double teamed. So she kicked it back out. And this was like the clock's winding down here in the fourth quarter. It's a tight game. And so I make the game winner. I make the three. It just swished. And like, it was like one of those shots where like, I don't know. It's like I almost lost my breath like taking it. Like I just didn't even feel like it was going in. And it was just like bottom of the net swish. And I was like looking around like, what? Like it was just crazy. So I just felt really good after that. And we won the game. And then like, no one cared. Like no one cared that I hit a game winner, like, cause they were trying to get rid of me. So it was just like whatever to them. So next morning, wake up with an email from them saying you're fired.
Like, after you hit the game winning shot, you're fired.
You're fired. We're sending you out. So again, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so they ended up firing the other girl too. So they fired both of us.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's weird over there in Czech Republic, I guess.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird vibes all around. And so then I decided I'm not going home. And like, I'm telling my mom this. My mom's like, please come home. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm in the middle of the Czech Republic where they don't even speak English. Like, I wasn't near Prague. Like, I was in a weird place. And I ended up connecting with someone on social media who used to play basketball as well. And she was like, you can just come stay with me. Like, I'm living in Poland. So my crazy self's like, all right, like, let's go. So I end up hopping on a bus and going to Poland. So now I'm in Krakow, Poland, which is like a cool city. So I just bring all my stuff to this girl's house I never met. And I didn't know how long I was going to stay there. I was just like, all right, well, we're just about to see. And so back to the drawing board. Let's start messaging the coaches. So I go back to square one, get my little bit of film that I have, and I start sending it out to coaches. And now I'm adding to my email, I'm already in Europe, which helps. So by doing that, I actually got a pretty fast answer to go on a team in Ireland. So I take my ventures to Ireland, and I ended up playing a full season there from like September till April. I switched teams while I was there one time, but I stayed there from September to April, so like 8 months, 9 months. And so I enjoyed the culture. It was different, you know, like people spoke English, so that was cool.
Probably a little helpful.
Yeah, it was very helpful. And, you know, it was just a vibe. Like, it was just like what I did that year, and it was a really good experience. But when I came home, I knew that, like, I wanted to strive higher. I wanted to go to the WNBA. I was like, there's no way I'm going to go from Ireland to the WNBA without, like, doing something. So I need to boss up here. So I go back to grinding, and I just stayed home, really just worked hard, and got another opportunity to play in a couple of those tournaments. Like the first one, there was one in France, there's one in Germany, basically exposure events to get seen so I can get on like a better team. I go to France, and then I go to Germany in August. This is 2019. I go to Germany to play in a tournament, and I bought a one-way. So I get there, whatever, I think, you know, I'm going to ball out, get signed, whatever. Ended up not going my way, didn't really ball out, and had nowhere to go. So I hit up my one friend. He plays professionally in Germany. So he's like, yep, you can come stay with me. So I end up, you know, being a nomad in Europe for a little bit and staying with him, again, indefinitely. Have no idea what's next. And so he starts getting me access to like the gym where his team plays and like the practice gyms and like all that stuff. So I started connecting with like trainers in Germany, and like things just started to flow better. And then it was like all around the same time, like some coaches started hitting me up, like second league, and a team in the Netherlands hit me up. And then literally the team that I wanted all along from Greece randomly emailed me and said they want me to come. So I was super hype, and I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm about to be in Greece. So
That's where you want it to end up?
Overseas wise, probably. I mean, I know it's a really high like division over there, and it's also Greece, so beautiful. I'm like, let's go. Like, let's do it. So I end up flying to Greece. I end up having like a luxury apartment that was my own. 2-bedroom, wraparound balcony, like in the mountains of Greece, like completely beautiful, like 15 minutes outside of Athens, like everything that I want pretty much.
It's legit.
Yeah, it was sick. It was like dreams come true. Like that's how I felt in that moment, like just on top of the world. And then once like practice and like game start, things just started to shift. And my coach ended up being very strict and was playing games a little bit, and I was also fighting an injury. So when I was in Germany, I had like bad Achilles tendonitis. So pretty much like the back of my Achilles, they would just get super tight, and like it would hurt to run, and it just got so bad. Like once I got to Greece, it was just like continuously getting worse because I'm not resting. Like I'm playing like however many hours a day. So I had tendonitis in my Achilles, and then I started getting it in my knee. So I wasn't playing as well as I could because I'm like an explosive player when I play. So at that point I wasn't playing my game really, and it was very also systematic. Like the team was very like structured and like, you know, pass the ball around, do the play. And honestly, that's just not how I play. Like I more play freestyle, and I like to run and play in transition, and like I play like a guy almost. Like that's how I like to play, flashy. And this was completely opposite. Like nope, run the play, move around 3 times, and then shoot. So it was very structured, and it just seemed everything like happened for me, and then everything was about to be taken away from me real quick. So that was hard, and I knew I was getting sent home because it was just like getting worse and worse. Like they would literally put me in the game just to like play defense. So I was like, I'm definitely going home. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it was rough, and I was just like, I'm gonna have to just go home and start from square one and find myself, figure out what I'm going to do. Because it's not always as easy when you're hurt. Like you can't just, you know, at that point I couldn't just get on a plane and go to Ireland, like I couldn't find a new team at that point. I had to come home and rehab and rest and figure out how to make some money and like then go. So that's hard. And right around that time is actually when I came home, when I started thinking about an idea for a clothing line. So at that point, I had no idea what I was going to name it or like what it was going to be called or what the slogan was going to be, what the logo was going to be, nothing. So I just started creating ideas, making up words, looking at like suffixes, prefixes, looking at words in different languages and like trying to figure it out. And one day I went to the waterfall by my house, which is on Coxton Road. And when I was there, I just had like a spiritual intervention about stars. And I just felt that I was connected to stars. And I started looking at like my tattoos. And I just felt like I've always been a star. And from that moment, like everything just kind of clicked like about the stars. And so I didn't know like the exact name at that point. Like I was calling it like STARMIA, STARMIA. And then I was like asking my friends. And then once it came down to it, then it was just STARMIA. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. It's like star and then Mia, but it's one word and it flows. I'm like, that's cool. So I was able to create that name that way. And the logo is a star. And that's when I also created the slogan, which is Unveil the Truth, which that just came to me. Like it just came. And what it means to me is to unveil the limitations, because I don't believe limitations are real. I think that circumstance, environment, people, and ourselves, we put limitations on ourselves and we accept them, and we don't have to, because the truth is like we're living in unlimited possibilities. So I think we need to take that into consideration and unveil the excuses, the limitations, and everything that's blocking us from being who we want to be. So unveil the truth.
I love it.
You're
in like a flow. You're in like a flow right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this kind of makes me think like you've had a lot of these ups and downs.
Yes, sir.
Right? Like a lot of ups and downs. And it kind of sort of goes along with what you were just saying. Like, how did you mentally like stay on track? Like, what was your mindset through all of these ups and downs, and now you start this brand?
I just kept grinding. That was the main thing that was able to push me through. I'm a big Kobe fan, so I just adopted Mamba mentality. Not as good as him, obviously, but I started with the routine of waking up early, getting multiple workouts in a day. And once I was healthy enough at that point, I started my brand slowly. It takes like a year to get a trademark. I'm like, let me start it now. So at this point, I'm rehabbing, I'm home, and it's about to be 2020. And that's when I really started like with the structure of like waking up super early. So then after that, I was able to create organized planning. So it just helped me stay on course. It gave me discipline. And, everyone that is my neighbor or in my family knows like how much work I really put in. Like it's just insane. And I, it's not necessarily like it was perfect. It wasn't perfect. Like I was just out there trying to figure it out. Like I'm gonna
by yourself too, by the way.
Yeah, by myself. So I was just out there for hours, just trying to figure it out, watching YouTube, trying to become a dead-eye shooter. That was my goal. Like I just wanted to be a dead-eye shooter. So I just grinded for hours every single day. And at that point, I wanted to go to play in Brazil because I have a Brazilian passport. So I did a lot to get a Brazilian passport. Like I had to get in contact with my dad who's in Brazil and like just getting him to send the stuff. It was just like a couple years of a process. So once I finally got the passport, like I'm a Brazilian citizen, I have dual citizenship now. Like the goal has been to play on their national team. Like I want to play in the Olympics. Like that's what I want to do. So I decided I'm going to just go to Brazil. Like it's worked for me before. So I'm just going to go to Brazil and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a team and then just start from there. So that was the plan. This is 2020. My flight is supposed to be in March 2020.
Uh-oh.
We all know what happened then.
Oh, no.
So I actually experienced, my grandma passed away, who was my biggest fan. Love her so much. And I know that she would be so proud right now. And honestly, I dedicate this episode to her.
Awesome.
And from that moment, like after, I got over that, my next step was to head to Brazil in March. And then literally that week of my flight was on a Sunday. The week prior is when COVID hit America. So I'm like, at that point though, it wasn't like as wild. Like it was just like, oh, like whatever, it's COVID in America and stuff. And then next thing you know, the MLB is shutting down, NBA. Like I've never seen anything like this happen in my entire life. So I'm just like, let me not go to Brazil right now, because that just seems like insane. Like everything is shutting down. That's never happened before. They're going to have to give me a refund. I'm not going. So I decided to stay. And it was rough because like I was super excited to like make a new step, and it was like shut down, complete shutdown. The gyms are closed. I'm like, what am I going to do? I started a program by a guy named Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan's trainer, and he has like a book which is called Jump Attack, and that book was able to help me go through 3 phases which were extremely hard, and it's all mostly body weight, like isometrics, and then like it progresses into movement, and then it progresses into plyometrics. So I started that program from day one, and it's like a 3-month program, and it got me in the best shape of my life. I was able to do pull-ups and jump higher and just everything. Like I just felt overall like stronger. So after that, I was still home grinding for a bit, and I started playing in a league, a men's league in Wilkes-barre in Shavertown with Isaiah Walker again. So I started playing in this men's league, and I slowly start dominating. And it was just a really good feeling, because at that point I knew I could play the WNBA. I was like, I'm cooking these guys. Like there's no way that girls are going to be able to stop me. So I knew I was going to be able to make it, and all I had to do was stay the course and become a dead eye shooter. Like not, oh, like maybe she'll make it. Like, no, I should be making like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Like if I want to be the WNBA, if I could do that and I'm this fit, like there's no reason why they wouldn't take me. So I just basically I summarized everything in my head of like what I needed to do. So I did that for a bit, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm going to start cold calling WNBA agents. So I go right on the website, WNBA agents, big list, start calling. And most people do not care. Like literally, like so many people I called, and like you knew they were never going to call you back. And, nobody wants to talk to me. I have basically no resume. I played in Ireland, and I'm stuck home with COVID, and why would they give me a chance? Like the WNBA shut down too. Like why, why would this happen? So I just start calling people, and I ended up talking to a cool bunch of people. Like a few of them, I was starting to get somewhere. And it was actually a referral of how I met the agent that I did sign for a bit. And she was able to give me an opportunity she tried to first get me to go to Iran. And basically that didn't work out. So I didn't go there. And then she had mentioned an opportunity to go to San Antonio, Texas, and train with a guy named Tim Springer. And he trained with the Spurs. So I was like, that's super cool. And he used to train with the WNBA team, the San Antonio Stars. So like, let's go. Like, he sounds perfect. So at that point, I was in Pittston, like helping coach. I was just volunteer coaching at my high school and just like training some kids and stuff on the side. And I was like super busy every day because I would have my crazy workouts. I'd be going to train kids. I'd be going to high school practice. Like I was like overwhelmed, but I knew in my heart, I was like, I just want to play. Like, you know, I just want to play. So I need to get out of here. So I talked to her about the opportunity in Texas, and she's like, okay, you'll just have to pay for it. Like you'll have to pay to like stay there, and he'll give you a discount, and like you could just go to Texas, like figure it out. So I was like, all right, cool. So she made the referral, and I just got in my car and drove to Texas. So that was last year, right around the snowfall in Texas. Had some delays on the way. Wasn't stopping me though, you know that.
Yeah, nothing's stopping you.
No, I was still going. So whatever, I ended up going to Texas, and I trained there with him every single day, and he ended up changing my jump shot. And he was the only person to ever change my shot because I was always good. So like people would just let me like shoot how I was shooting. But he really just made me realize like the importance of the base and building momentum into your shot and having that flow. And before I used to shoot mostly arms, and he really taught me how to use my base and spring off the ground. And it was a lot of ups and downs with that. You know, like my shot was then trash for a bit, and I was like, this is not good. I have a big combine coming up in April, and my shot is not good right now. But it was hard. It was a battle, you know, like listening to what he's saying, but then like my shot's crazy. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but you know, I just kept listening to him and trying to find middle ground. That's what he talked about. Just finding that synergy. Like it's not going to be completely his way, but it's not going to be my way, but we meet somewhere in the middle. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I just kept doing what he said, and fast forward to the combine, and the day of the combine was just not my day. Like you have good days and you have bad days, and that was a bad day for me. And it was only one day. I played in front of the coach that, you know, I was interested in playing for in the WNBA, and I was just over there like throwing the ball away, like just not in flow, not making shots. So it was rough. From that point, like that day, I was so upset. And my mom was there too, and my one friend had come and visit as well. And so we were like all in a hotel, and when I was there, I was very upset. Like I was crying, I was yelling, and my mom was like, sometimes God wants you to trust him. She's like, that's like his thing. She's like, that's God's thing. And she's like, sometimes God will bring you something better. And I just remember like yelling back at her, and I was just like, what's better? I was like, what's better than this? And because I had put every single ounce of myself into this, my money, my time, my life, like everything. Like I was living by myself in a hotel for 2 months for this, and it ended up terrible. So I was so hurt. And I just, from that point, took a break. I took a little break. It was my first real break. Even when I was hurt, I was still going to the Y and stuff. But this was like a break. I went to the beach for like a week and a half by myself and didn't even touch a ball. And when I came back, I was doing like a little better. And I ended up coming back to PA, and I did some camps. I was on the news. Like I was making strides. I was going to go and play in the DR for like a tournament. And so I went there. I went to the DR. It was basically like a bootleg version of the legit one I was in France. So like it was like trying to be like that. So like I knew this because I've been through experiences before. So I know it's not like what I expected. So I was able to do really well, but again, it wasn't like as legit as I thought it was going to be. So I had an opportunity to stay there, play there, but it was just some craziness, to be honest. If we're being completely honest, it was a little weird there. So I'm like, I'm not desperate, like whatever. So I'm like, let me go back to the States. Start playing on a team in San Antonio, Texas, called the San Antonio Surge. So I started playing on this team, and it was my first game with them. And we traveled to Oklahoma, like 8-10 hours away from San Antonio. We get in a rental car and drive there because our coach had a heart attack. So we're like by ourselves, no coach, no manager, nothing, just the team. And we go and play in this like big arena. Like we get there and it's like an arena, and they have coaches, refs, like trainers, like it's a legit game. And we're in like practice jerseys. Like we're like, dang. So whatever. And I've never played with these people in my life. I don't even really know them. So we start the game, and when I went in, I did good. So I started playing more. And by the end of the game, I was in the game. It was like, a hot game towards the fourth quarter, and the ball popped loose. And so I dove on the ball, and the girl like completely just like crushed my arm. Like she fell on top of me like a direct blow, like something really heavy would fall on you, or you got in an accident or something. Like there was no stopping this. Like I work out a lot, and like strength conditioning will prevent injury, but this one wasn't preventable. Like it just completely knocked my shoulder out of place, and it was my shooting arm. So I was shocked. Like I knew it was bad. And I got up, started like moving around. The crowd's like in disgust and despair, and I'm just like literally like putting my messed up arm above my head and like crazy things. And then they're like trying to get an ambulance. I'm like, nah. I was like, drive me to the hospital. Like this is not covered by insurance. So I ended up having them take me to the hospital. Had to wait mad long to get to the back where they actually were going to put it back into place and stuff. Like couldn't breathe, worst injury ever. And once they put it back, it was like better, but I was still in a sling. Like, what's next? This is it. Like I'm literally surrendering at this point in time because I have literally, there's nothing else that I can do. So I had to come home and get an MRI. So I fly home to get this MRI, moment of truth, to find out if I need surgery. So I find out that my labrum is torn. That was the first news I find out. And then I find out my ligaments are not torn. So I had a conversation with the doctor, and he told me I have a choice if I want surgery. Like if you tear your ligaments, then you have to get it. But since I didn't, then I had a choice if I wanted to get it or not. The only thing was, if I did not get it, there would be a chance of dislocating my shoulder again. And I was just like, you know what? I'm 26 and I'm trying to make it now. Like, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to go PT and we're going to see what happens. So I decided to do that. And he's like, all right, you could take off the sling and start moving it. So I started just moving, slowly started moving. Was going to Planet Fitness every day, just like little weights, moving, trying to get every direction. By the time I actually went to a physical therapy office, like a week and a half later, they were like, are you sure you tore your labrum? They wanted to see the actual MRI results because of the range of motion that I had. And I was able to do a push-up. Like they were just shocked because they were saying that people with this injury sometimes never get to this point. So that was a good sign. And I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm on the right track. Just going to keep doing what I'm doing. He gave me like a little at-home program. And I decided I'm going back to Texas. And everyone's like, why are you going back to Texas? Like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, because I don't like want to be here. I want to keep growing, elevating. I want to go back and train with Tim. My team was doing really well. I thought they were going to win the championship. And I also was trying to start an Airbnb business at the same time and get into like the real estate game. So I go back to Texas, and at this time though, I'm like basically staying in different hotels every night, like not good hotels, motels every night, because I'm trying to find an Airbnb, which I'm going to live in, which I'm going to rent out when I'm not there. And a bunch of places that we signed, and not the least, but we signed with, and, you know, like it was about to happen. We paid and everything. And then like it fell through at the last second. So basically I got stuck in a spot where I kept, you know, thinking I was going to move in somewhere and then wasn't. So I was hopping from hotel to hotel, like literally this lady with no tea told me not to come in the one day because I was 5 minutes late. She wouldn't let me check in. And like, I was just like, what is my life right now? Like, this is crazy. And my teammates were there, but I didn't want them to know like that I was really struggling and like basically staying out of my car. And
You were living in your car.
I wasn't sleeping there, but I was, you know, moving from hotel to hotel, had all of my stuff in my car because my car has been in Texas the whole time because I wasn't going to drive it back. So all of my stuff from like when I originally went last January, February was all in my car. So I was like, all right, I got to get a storage unit. Like, this is too much. And I ended up doing that, stayed with some teammates here and there, but mostly hotels. And then one night I was actually staying with a teammate. I was staying on the pull-out couch in her room, and my AAU coach calls me and he's like, yo, man, I got you a tryout with the Harlem Globetrotters. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you saying right now? Like, you're just saying anything. And he's like, no, like, they're going to fly you out. They're going to fly you out. You have a tryout. It's in Wildwood, New Jersey. Like, be ready. And I'm like, dude, I literally just tore my shooting arm off like 2 weeks ago. There's no way that I'm going to play for the Harlem Globetrotters right now. Like, what are you saying? And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, just do the drills. He's like, they know. He's like, I'll tell them that you have an injury. You're good. Like, it's all good. He's like, just do the tryout. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. I don't even know if it's legit at this point. Like, so after that, I at that point, I'm literally sitting there icing my shoulder, like on a pull-out couch, like at all-time low.
Really down and out.
Yeah. And he's talking about this crazy opportunity that literally manifested out of the blue. So I'm like, okay, like, let's just see what happens. And turns out they ended up paying for my flight, flew me back, and I had the tryout with them. And when I got to the tryout, like, even going into the tryout, like that morning, I didn't think that I was going to be playing pickup. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll just tell them, you know, I'll do the drills and I'll just do really good in the drills. So when I got there, like, everything just started to align for me. And the head guy who's like in charge of scouting and recruiting, he's also a coach. He ends up being from the 570. So like, that's a cool connection. He ends up knowing my grandpa. Whoa, he knows my agent. I'm like, what the heck? Like, he knows everyone. So it ended up being like a really good connection that aligned with specifically me. So once I get my practice jersey, it says A1, like that's the number. I'm like, okay, good vibes. Once we start the tryout, it's mostly just shooting, and it's everything I've been working on personally for months now, years now. And it just pretty much was handed to me like on a platter. Like, it was my day. And once it came down to pickup at the end, I wasn't even thinking that I wasn't going to play. I'm like checking the ball. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, so once we start playing pickup, I just do a little move on the guy, and they're playing legit. So we're playing 3-on-3. It's me and 5 guys. I'm the only girl. And I end up doing a move to go past this guy who's really trying. And I come to like a jump stop, and I did like an infamous move that I just always do. And he just flew in the air. Like, I just pump faked him. He flew in the air, and I just laid it up so smoothly. And like, it went in slow motion pretty much. And I just knew at that moment that I made the team and I didn't have to do anything else. So after that, I did what is called like a PR interview. So their PR team kind of just sat me down and tried to learn a little bit about myself and like how I got into basketball and who I am and stuff like that. And I crushed the interview, and I knew that I made the team. Like, they didn't say like, you know, here's the contract at that point, but I knew that I made the team. So that was in August, and I had to wait a whole month. I had to wait till September to actually sign the contract. And then from there, we didn't like really get started until training camp in December.
So you were there competing against all guys.
Yes.
You were the only female.
Yes.
And they were only choosing one person?
I don't think they had a specific number of like who they were going to choose, but they ended up choosing me I was the only person that got picked as the Globetrotter that day.
That's incredible.
It was cool.
It really is.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is so awesome. All right, so and you this is in the fall. This is fall of 2021. So
Yes.
you just started training what, in December, you said?
Yes, we had our first training camp in December, and then we started the spread game tour on Christmas.
Yeah, tell me about the spread game tour.
So the spread game tour is dedicated to Curly Neal, who was a Globetrotter for 22 years, and he also wore number 22. So they made the connection with 22, and he was just an icon. He was just a Globetrotter legend, and he basically made them famous. So it's a huge tribute to him, and it's about spreading love and spreading unity.
Awesome. So so what's coming up? Dates, games? Like you got some games coming up, right?
Yes. So I'm going to be playing with another unit, and we're going to be coming to Wilkes-barre on February 12th. But before then, I'm going to be playing with them in preparation for that game because they're not my team. So we're going to get used to playing with each other and everything like that. But my team doesn't really kick off until April. We're doing the international tour, which is going to be really cool. I
Awesome.
get to cross off so many countries.
Where are you going, do you know?
Everywhere.
All around the world.
Dubai, Australia, Europe, South America, China.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
That's cool. So how about the nickname Mighty?
It was given to me, and it fits perfectly. And I'm super grateful that that's what they gave me. And number 6 too. Like, I've never been number 6 before, but there's definitely a connection with that name and that number, and I'm just grateful for it.
What's the connection?
Just that, well, mighty, it can mean strength. And I feel that my whole journey has proved that I am that. I am strength. I am might. So that alone was a super cool name, and it sounds very divine. And number 6 is also a divine number. And this is God's plan. God made this happen. And it changed my whole life the way that it happened. Like, now I just look at life differently because I was so focused on, I go to the WNBA, like, you know, forcing everything, working out like 10 hours a day, like doing all this stuff. And then this just literally was handed to me from left field, like came out of absolutely nowhere. So God makes a way where there is no way. And he did that for me. So it just changed my life.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
What's your grandmother's name?
Angie Hopkins.
Tell me about her.
She was born in an era where females didn't typically play organized sports. However, that didn't stop her. And she played just with the boys all the time, like in the neighborhood. She was the best. She was the one that was always picked first. Like, every single person that I know that knew my grandma as a kid tells me the same. She was picked first every single time. Phenomenal athlete. And so she wasn't able to play like for the school. So she had to like adopt becoming a cheerleader because that was like the only thing that she could really do. But growing up, you know, she married my grandpa, who was a famous coach. So like, she was just his ride or die. Like, she basically sat the bench, like engaged in everything. And that was like her passion. And then once I was born, she was just my number one fan, didn't miss anything, like was the only person to bring me to soccer, because we're not like soccer people, like was the only people to bring me to soccer, and like random stuff that I did. And she was at my basketball games, you know, when the score was 4-2, like as a kid. Like, my grandpa's like, I am not sitting through this. Like, so my grandma was a real one. She was a ride or die. And even when she was sick, like towards the end of her life, she would be like basically fighting everyone to come to my games. And then once she was really sick, it was so cute. I would go over and she would just like be watching my old games. And that was just really like special to me. And she has such a special place in my heart and I love her so much.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this has been really cool. I learned how to, well, we cheated a little. You spun the ball, put it on my finger, but how did I do?
You did good.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
When are the next tryouts? I think I'm showing up.
I can get you a private tryout for sure. I
Yeah?
got you.
Could
Yeah.
you? All right, I'm trying out. You give me a tryout, I'll be there.
Yes, sir. We'll get you in the Magic Pass line before the game. You'll be taking pictures with everybody. You'll get well acquainted.
Legit.
Perfect.
Find my flow. I'll be in there. I'll be shooting 3s, 4s.
I say 4s, yeah.
4s, right? At
Underhand
least.
4s.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So what else? How can our listeners connect with you on social media?
So my Instagram name is actually very unusual, and it comes from middle school. My friends randomly just started calling me Wea, which is like my name with like a W, and they just started saying Wea, which I kind of liked. And then one day they just randomly started saying Wea Bala Kid, which basically is like just slang, I guess. And so it was my username on AIM,
Of course.
which
Yeah.
is showing my age. But so my Instagram is WIAAA, 3 A's, Bala, BALLA, Kid, KID.
Awesome. So you can go on there and check out some cool four pointers.
Yeah, I've been posting the 4-pointers. I'm super hyped to be able to shoot 4-pointers and show off my skills on the big stage. And I'm going to continue to do that. I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to thrive in however I choose to. Like pretty much like whatever I decide to put my focus and awareness on is going to blossom. Like I could, go all in on ball handling if I want. And my teammates and my coaches and everyone, like they can help me become one of the best ball handlers ever. And same goes for shooting. Like it's whatever I want to really go all in on at this point. Like I just basically have to choose at this point. And I'm super excited, ready to go, more hyped than ever. And I'm super grateful. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
This is like the coolest thing in the world. I never met a Globetrotter. It really is. This is the cool. This is so cool. How about your apparel? How can people find your apparel?
So the website for that is www.starmia, STARMIA,
Swag.
Thank you.
Got it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was really cool. What about upcoming schedule? How can people see you play? I know you're traveling internationally, but what about schedule wise?
So the schedule is on harlemglobetrotters.com, and you can find all the games there. Sometimes there'll be games like in different locations on the same day. That's just because we do have multiple units. So I'll be on the team that's coming to wilkes-barre. So you can definitely find me there on February 12th. Super hype.
I'm hype.
It's going to be cool for sure to, play in my city. Like it's cool to like put on literally for my city, and no other team can you do that. Like what other teams coming to wilkes-barre, like on the big stage for real. So
Yeah, that has somebody from here that's going to then play here.
yeah.
Right? Like no one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really an amazing opportunity, and I cannot wait for it. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm just excited to see what is next.
Is there a next?
There's always a next. I'll never be satisfied. And that's also what I tell the kids that I train, never be satisfied. And you can always get better. Like there's always room for improvement. And I think with my story, I was able to persevere and show why that's true. And that's honestly what I think my purpose is in life, is to inspire other people to be great and continue striving no matter what you're going through, no matter how it looks. Because trust me, I did not think in April that this would happen. Like, I wouldn't believed you if you told me, because I was in such a low place that I just thought that that was what was for me. But sometimes there's bigger plans. So just stay the course and just believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you either, because you have all the power and it all starts within you. You got to just continue to work and continue to believe in yourself. And I just hope that I can help people do that. You could reach out to me anytime. Like, if you send me a message, if you're a player, or if you're into business, or you have a craft or anything, and you want to connect with me and you think I might be able to help you, or we could work together, collab, whatever, I'm super down. So just reach out to me. You have my social media and I'll give you a message back.
Boom. Mic drop.
Gotcha.
Love it. Mia Mighty Hopkins, the world famous Harlem Globetrotters on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.